All right, so we are live for the first time ever for the Strongman Winner Circle, but I'm going to start with the intro for Johnny and Alimo, so stand by. Welcome back to another episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Canby, and this is episode 67 with the youngster, Johnny Alimo of Long Island. Johnny recently took second at America's Strongest Man after a great finish at the official Strongman Games, World's Strongest Man 105 Kilo, where he took 9th place, make it to the final day of competition. So we're sitting down with Johnny. We're going to talk all things Strongman, what he has up his sleeve in terms of next competitions, and let's see what makes him special on today's episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast with Johnny Alimo. So tune in and listen now. Thanks. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and everything else. There, here we go. Johnny, how are you?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's cooking? Good looking.
Nothing much. Thank you for having me today. Really excited to be here. Kind of always wanted to be on this podcast. I've watched it a lot in the last couple of years. So
I know. I remember back when I just said I just need a great performance out of you, and I could have you on.
Yeah, I think guys who time maybe.
Yeah, so we're kind of expanded. So I've expanded to the podium guys in the past at big shows, but one thing is that I already had Zach McCarley on like back in when I had the episodes were back in the teens. Like I think might have been like my 14th or 15th episode. And then of course I wanted to have him back on, but then I also want to get some new blood on the show. So I thought it was important to get you on and get you going. So very exciting going live. So anybody that's listening right now, feel free to tune in with any questions, comments, and we'll try to address them first. But we also have a nice show kind of planned out for you guys. But yeah, let's chat about America's Strongest Man. So of course, seemed like you had pretty good prep. It was your first contest of the year, is that right?
Yeah, first contest of 2024, and the prep went really well. To be honest with you, those were all like really solid events for me. I felt like the events were very like your standard like strongman events, you know what I'm saying, like log, deadlift, farmers, sandbag, arm over arm, I guess. But it was good prep, and I'm pretty happy with the result.
All right, excellent. Now for you, for you guys don't know, Johnny, you're about like 6'2", right?
Yeah, about 6'2". Yeah.
All right. So I imagine you look pretty big while competing. How much were you cutting prior to when you started your weight cut, or when you started kind of losing weight for the show?
Yeah, so I mean, generally during the year, like I walk around at like 250, and then like when it gets close to contest time, I try to diet down to about 245. I know that like when I'm just about to start my water load and weight cut, if I'm like slightly under like 245, it should be like a decently easy water cut for me. The morning before the weigh-in, so I guess that was Friday morning, or no, I'm sorry, Thursday morning, I woke up, I was 242. So I had about 11 pounds to go that day, like in one day. You know, I pretty much sweat that out in the sauna and everything. So I guess it's not like terribly large. You know, I'm not doing like 20-pound cuts or anything like that. About, 10 to 15 roughly, depending on like the timeline in which you're looking at.
All right. Not too shabby.
Yeah.
And then now, were you following your own kind of weight cut protocols, or was that through your nutritionist? Is it Max, right, McCall?
Yeah. So Max McCall helps me with all my nutrition stuff. So he gives me the plan to follow and pretty much just execute as it is. It's nothing too crazy, just kind of like a carb drop, like for a couple of days, and load up on water, load up on sodium, and then last day pretty much cut all food, all water for the most part. I had small sips here and there when I needed it, and then just sweat it out. That's pretty much the plan.
All right. Excellent. So yeah, it seemed like a pretty seamless. It looked at you like you had of course, a pretty solid show. So of course, kind of getting into Austin. I thought the show ran well, ran pretty fast.
Yeah.
Other kind of strongman shows, I would say, compared to like an OSG. But yeah, what you mentioned, Johnny?
Well, no, I was going to say, yeah, the pace of the show went really well. I appreciate Eric a lot for the way that he kind of let us go at our own pace in a sense. You know, it was nice like that the show started a little bit later in the day. And I think that he knew that because we only had 13 competitors that it was going to run pretty quick. So he was like really, really thoughtful with like letting us warm up and everything before each event. I kind of like appreciate that. I like when you get the opportunity to do things like that. So yeah, I was happy with the pace of the show.
All right, excellent. Now, now looking at the show, so I did pull up the score sheet so we can kind of take a look. So I was actually taking a look right before our chat today because I thought for the most part it looked like it didn't look like you had like a crazy showing in terms of like a bunch of wins and of course of high placings. You kind of were very moderate, like very similar to kind of like a Mitch Hooper.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Mitch Hooper a couple of years ago when he was starting out.
Mhm.
Now he's kind of winning the events, but of course I saw a third, couple fourths. There was I think a sixth place on the deadlift.
Yeah.
And the farm was a kind of tough one. So
Yeah.
compared to the other guys, you were just very consistent. I felt like that every competitor here, including Zach McCarley, had like a really tough event. But I think in the end, guys like you, guys like Justin Lloyd, just had pretty standard events. Like Justin had a tough time on the bags, but I think for you across the board, you were pretty steady. Now I don't think we ever caught up. So of course, your toughest event being the sandbag to farmers event. Did you end up cramping, or was it a small quick injury? Because it looked like it didn't hurt you too much.
No, it was a cramp. Like training, that was like a really, really good event for me. I was really confident in that event that I was going to smoke it. And yeah, I just cramped like going to pick up the sandbag. I got a cramp like in my lower abdomen and just I couldn't stay down. Like, I couldn't bend down to pick up the bag because it just would contract my abs too hard. It's just really unfortunate that it happened. But yeah, I mean, that was like technically my worst event. And it wasn't even really like because I underperformed. It just happened to cramp. You know what I'm saying? So I think going forward, I like adjust a couple things with Max and my coach Shane and Dan, trying to figure out like why the cramp happened and everything. I don't think like we can necessarily say like it was because of this, it was because of that. It might have been like a combination of a couple of different things, like just not rehydrating properly or just like work capacity issue, like in the abs. So the plan like going forward is to just kind of like be a little bit more diligent with like tracking electrolytes, and then taking some like preventative measures to help like not cramp. So I'm like going to experiment with like apple cider vinegar before,
Sure.
before like my events to see if that helps with cramping. It should. And yeah, I'm not really too worried about it. I think it was more or less just kind of like a in the moment freak thing. You know what I mean?
All right. I was curious if it was from the cut. So of course, like getting the sodium back after doing like water loading, if you're doing water loading up to like 5 days, that can be pretty tough. But Justin Loy is a big advocate for apple cider vinegar, and so is my mother. So
Yeah.
it must be stand for something. I was taking apple cider vinegar before Europe's and Worlds of this year, but it was more so for gut health. But
Okay.
I never really thought about for potentially cramping, so maybe you kind of work double.
From what I understand, what it does is it blocks the signal in your brain to not cramp for like up to 30 minutes. Apparently, I don't know why or for whatever reason, but that's what the word is.
So what do you take it? So let's stay on this topic. So what do you take it? Just pure apple cider vinegar? Like I mix it with like honey and stuff. With like,
yeah, I could do that because I've taken a shot of apple cider vinegar before. It's pretty nasty.
before an event or just in general?
Yeah, before an event. So I'll do it like 30 minutes before I go on. Maybe like 20, 30 minutes before I go on, just take like a shot of it, maybe like wash it down with some honey or something so it doesn't taste so bad. And then it should help like prevent the cramping and stuff because it is tough. Like being a weight class athlete, like there's a lot going on. I mean, we're pushing ourselves as much, as like all the open guys are, plus cutting weight, dehydrating ourselves, trying to rehydrate in 24 hours. So, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Obviously, that's not to say that like taking anything away from any of the open guys or anything, but there is that extra layer of like making sure that you are rehydrated and everything properly, because it's super important. Because it may have potentially cost me first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, because of course I brought up I'll bring it up again, but I brought up the score sheet. So you're only 4.5 points over here,
Mhm.
4.5 points off the lead. So yeah, I would say that's very close. So even not having your, of course, all the best events, but with a quick show, I feel like sometimes those little mistakes do happen. So I think
Yeah.
there could have been somewhere where those other guys can improve, but still a very solid performance for your first America's Strongest Man. I did want to take a quick pause to point out Nick Lifts. He came over. He was very supportive, but he also on the Instagram messaging on the questions, he mentioned that you're fat, which I disagree. I've seen plenty of good pictures in front of the mirror lately. So I think you got to show your buddy from Long Island what's up recently. The bench only maniac, right?
Yeah, Nick is a one-trick pony. He can only bench.
So of course, one thing that I've always kind of stand out. Of course, I love my static events. Of course, you have a great log. Ended up hitting 360 on the log. Now, were you happy with that result, or were you cooking something up more during training leading into the contest?
In training. I hit like not like a super standard like competition grade 370. So I mean, like I got 370 up over my head. If I would have held it for like another half a second, it would have counted. It was like one of those reps where like it went up, I got my head through, and then it went down, kind of deal. So that was like right about like where I was planning on being. I think initially my plan was to open 340, 360, and then potentially send 380 if I needed it. Like looking back in the competition, I don't think it would have made much of a difference in terms of points. I either would have tied Garrett for third on that. I don't know if he hit 380 or 385. I either would have tied Garrett or
Let's go back to the list.
yeah.
So I think Garrett had like 370.
Oh
Tyler
yeah,
was 380, and Aiden Howe was 375,
okay,
385.
so if that happens, I gain one extra point. It doesn't make a difference in the overall standings anyway. I mean, I guess for myself, it would have been cool to hit, 380. But what happened was I don't know, I had like a little bit of a shaky first attempt on my opener.
Sure.
So I was like, you know what, for my second, let me just take something a little bit more conservative. So I wound up taking 340 for my second. Just to get something on the board, and that flew. It moved really well. And then that gave me a little bit more confidence to take a bigger jump for the third. But I think like if everything had gone to plan, I think, yeah, maybe 370, 380 potentially could have been there. But overall, looking back, it wouldn't have affected the overall score anyway. So it wouldn't have
No,
really mattered.
of course, but 3.6 is a very solid number. Even at other ASMs, I think it would have been at least kind of top 5. There was, I think the last time they had a max log press. I think
19.
19. The top 4 of us were 380, and then 370s, and then 360. There were a few ties, so it was still but held up very well.
Yeah, I was pretty certain that at least one person was going to press 400, but I think Aiden probably could have done it, but he wanted to go for the American log record.
you know what? If he keeps going like that, I think he'll break that record. I think it was tough is that they only had when they put the weight on, they only had 412 and a half and 417. So I think they like to go 417 because going over a half a pound is a little too close for comfort. And then we're getting into the just the intervals and whatnot, or just
so
I would say a kilo. I would say a kilo would have been, or if they got 415, that would have been a great number to go after. But I don't think 2 pounds would have made too much of a difference. But if he keeps at it, I think he mentioned something along the lines that he would like to go for the record again, like later in the year.
So the American record is 412.
412, and then so that's why I hit back in Waco in 2021, and then the log record actually got broken twice. So Emmanuel Pasquari hit the year after, hit 418, And then
Okay.
his name is Patrick, I think it's Zenica from
Mhm.
Slovenia. He hit 425. So that's the
Gotcha.
current
Okay.
record. And he hit that at a pretty legit spot I'm pretty sure he hit that um, at Big Z's World
Yeah.
Log Lift Championship. So in front of a pretty good judge. So it's hard to refute that type of press.
Do you think that like the log that you use matters? Like you think like if you use a metal log
Hmm.
versus Slater, it makes a difference? Or
Um, well, now that I have a Slater and I was using a Rogue back then, the Rogue is just a little tougher to clean. But the Slater is a little easier to clean, and the presses are a little differently. I think it's really all. I think in the end of the day, I think it only mattered 5 or 10 pounds. But knowing that I was going to go into kind of Waco, I was using a bunch of different logs. So I used like 3 different
Mhm.
logs during the prep just because I just didn't want to be thrown off by the type of log that came in. So whatever log they decided to use, I was going to be ready for. And that was the only thing, kind of the only thing I was training with. And then I had America's Strongest Man 3 weeks later. So I was factoring those events, but I was really just focusing on the log record for a while. Do you have any suggestions on? So, of course, you have a big overhead press. For everybody that hasn't seen, but do you have any kind of suggestions when it comes to pressing, or is this one of your favorite things to do?
Yeah, no. For me, for myself, I kind of look at two things. Like one, um, when I dip, I try to make sure that the log stays glued to my chest. So sometimes like I'll notice that like I'll dip too fast and then there's like a little bit of space like where the log comes off my chest because I sink too low. So
Sure.
I try to make sure that I keep like chest contact on the log the whole entire time. And then at least for myself, I have to lean back a lot. So I try to keep my head back just because like I don't have the best overhead mobility. So I can't get my head through right away. So I make sure that when I press, I lock my elbows out first and then I bring my head through. I know if I do those two things, that gives me like the best chance to press the most amount of weight that I can. Because simply like because I don't have the mobility to get my arms back behind my head, if I bring my head through too soon, then I'm just gonna dump forward with the log. It's just gonna fall forward. Like my pressing line is off and everything. So I try to keep my head back until my elbows get locked out.
Mhm. I imagine you, Shane, and Dan probably talked about the log afterwards. You ever guys kind of thought about maybe implementing the Mitch Hooper bent press / split jerk technique, the made up
Hmm.
technique by Mitch Hooper?
I don't know if that will work with a log. I think it'll work like with an axle
Exact,
for
yeah,
sure.
most likely.
Yeah.
But I think that was just crazy. It just combines two techniques where I think you've just been proficient on one.
Yeah.
And you've done really good. But that'll be interesting if we ever see that bent press with a split jerk on a log. I think that'd be pretty tough.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool that now of course outside of Aiden Howell, you're of course one of the youngsters, probably the second youngest person there. Now, did you? And of course, we were being on Twitch for the first time, so crazy that we had all those viewers, up to 300,000 viewers on America's Strongest Man. Now, do you use Twitch at all, or were you familiar with Twitch prior
Yeah.
to the contest?
Back in my gaming days, I was big on Twitch.
So, is that really what it's mostly used for? Is this gaming?
Um, Not necessarily. I mean, you know, people kind of do a wide a range of different content that they stream. Some people do like IRL stuff, so they're literally just like film themselves like going to the supermarket, like shopping for
Mm-hmm.
food or whatever. But I would say like the main use is people stream their games on there for the most part.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I was of course thinking exploring with it, but just
Yeah.
yeah, it opened up a whole new world in terms of streams.
You got like Gen Z educated on that stream,
Oh,
right?
I sure did. You watch the whole thing?
No, I didn't, but you were telling me after.
Oh yes, I sure did, and of course, and then special shout outs to Maddie the
Yeah,
whole time.
special shout out to Maddie.
So to be fair, Johnny, I didn't have you in my predictions list, the first top five, or I mean, when I did my predictions, when I was doing like at least top five ASM, I didn't have you on there. I usually say experience is king, and of course, you've had the OSG experience. You did the Clash on the Coast, that last one, and then coming into ASM. So I thought maybe it would be a little new, but especially since it was just a deep field. But it looks like you've done pretty well for, of course, not competing as much as some of the other guys. What do you attribute that to? Did you compete a lot as a kid? Is there some other items that kind of attribute to that success? But what do you think you're able to perform at a high level with not having that many strongman competitions under your belt?
Well, I think it's a combination of two things. Like one, I think like growing up, I played a lot of sports. I played like basketball at a pretty competitive level. I played up until college. I walked on my freshman year, like at a small D2 school, but we played like pretty high level travel basketball in high school. So I think like just competing and competition is just something I've done my whole life. It's always been my identity. So that's not really new to me in a sense.
Sure.
And then when I kind of got into strongman early on, like my first couple shows, like Jersey Clash on the Coast, that was something that like I was a little bit nervous about, but I really worked on my mindset a lot. And the way that I kind of approach these competitions, and it might sound weird or unique, but it's like I just kind of look at it like I'm just going to the gym to train with like a bunch of guys that I'm like friends with kind of. So like when I'm at the show, that's just kind of like what I tell myself is like I'm just at the gym training. Like, to be fair, like if you told me that like I'm going to go to Johnny's to train on Saturday and like you're going to be there and Jeff's going to be there and like all these guys are going to be there, like I'd be excited to go. I'd like want to go try to like show out, like try to hit a PR, like, have fun, whatever. So it's like to me, like competition is not really too much different from that. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like the way that I approach the competitions is I'm just going to the gym and like a bunch of guys are there and I'm going to show them like what I can do. And that kind of just helps like almost like make it like less significant, you know what I'm saying? Because like, if you're just, you're going to the gym for like a strongman Saturday, like any other week, you're excited to go, but you're not necessarily like nervous. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, you're like, all right, this is going to be a fun day. Like we're going to have fun. We're going to talk some shit, we're going to talk some smack or whatever. And we're going to have a good time. So that's kind of how I approach competition now.
All right. I love it. It's now how many competitions have you done so far?
So yeah, I was actually thinking about this yesterday, believe it or not. So I have done 8 strongman competitions and 4 powerlifting competitions. So I've only ever competed in strength sports 12 total times in my life.
All right. Well, it's still, but just think that you need at least a dozen belts. So that's more than I thought, to be honest. I didn't know about the powerlifting, which is pretty neat. But I imagine you migrated over from powerlifting over to strongman because strongman was probably more fun. Is that right?
Way better sport.
I did have an epiphany prior to the call. Your dad's a karate coach, right?
Yeah, karate instructor. He's a 3rd degree black belt and like a former professional kickboxer as well.
So does that mean that you did karate growing up?
I did, yeah, I did.
So does that mean you were Johnny Karate for a little bit?
I was Johnny Karate, yeah. Next time I see you, I'll show you. I have a video on my phone. When I was 6, I was at a karate tournament. It's pretty very intense doing my form and everything. And I won like first place for like doing form like at this tournament in New Jersey. But yeah, I was into it when I was young. But really the reason why I stopped was because like, the guy that I was seeing to train me in karate lived in New Jersey. Me and my dad were going to New Jersey like twice a week to kind of like train with him.
Sure.
And I was 6, you know what I mean? So eventually it was like started doing baseball, started playing basketball and everything, and then I kind of like just did like more regular sports. But yeah, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. It's just like I've always been in sports my whole life since I was 3-4 years old,
Oh, excellent. But I would think that just the discipline at a young age. I also did karate and like kung fu, just the martial arts. I don't want to consider wrestling a martial art, but I think there is some discipline that comes with it. So I think discipline at a young age. So there we go. I think potentially even putting yourself out there at a young age probably was a big one.
For sure.
Just want to address Dane. Dane's one of my buddies. Hey, Dane. almost as impressive as your drive away time the other day, Nick. I don't know what that means, but maybe
I
you can
think
clarify. We think
I think
that Dane is.
I think he might be talking about his yoke that he just submitted.
Oh, okay.
I think yeah, because he did it in his driveway. I think I could be wrong, but I think he just
Oh,
did
driveway. All right, got it.
980 yoke or something for OSG online qualifier.
Oh, interesting. All right, I'll have to take a look at that. So of course, right now you're in mid cut. I know you
Yeah.
guys can tell, but when behind the scenes, Johnny's chugging water right now. So you're heading over to the shot. Yeah, tell us. So you're leaving for the shot tomorrow?
Yeah, I leave for the show tomorrow morning. Um, so this is actually pretty interesting for me because typically when I travel to go to a show, I like to get there the day before I have to do the sauna and everything. For whatever reason, it just didn't work out this way. So this is the first time that I'm traveling in the same day, and then I have to get in the sauna, cut weight, and everything. So it'll be, slightly different of an experience. But tomorrow might be a little bit rough, just because it'll be like pretty much no food, no water, and then sauna for a couple hours after traveling for 6-7 hours. So be interesting to see how that goes.
All right. So there's 5 events. And is it 3 events the first day, and then you have to make top 10 to go to the finals for the Shaw Open? Is that right?
Yeah, so it's actually 7 events. It's
Okay.
3 on the first day, and then they take the top 10 after the first day, and then it's 2 events for day 2 and 2 events for day 3.
Ooh, that's pretty wild. What are the first 3 events?
Log for reps, 275, 60 seconds. Farmers, it's like a farmers medley. It's 275 down, 325 back. And then it's like a sandbag medley. So it's a 250 sandbag into a 300 Husafel bag. And then you have to push the torque tank back, the Rogue.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen that in competition.
yeah.
So that'll be a fun one. But yeah, I would say for the first event, you plan on vipering?
No, I don't actually. I kind of have like a love-hate relationship with Viper. I think it's, for me personally, I think it's a little too draining to do. I think you expend a little bit too much energy vipering. So I'd rather just take my time. 60 seconds, I think I could get 7 or 8 reps in 60 seconds. Yeah, I mean, I know I've banged out like the first 5 in like roughly under 30, 35. So take my time for the last like 30, try to get another like 2 or 3 reps. I think that'll be decent enough points. To be fair, I also didn't really have like a proper prep, for the
Sure.
show either, because I've kind of like mixed the 2 shows together. I think like if I had like a full like 12 weeks to map everything out, maybe Viper would have been like considered a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? But I just kind of have to stick with what's familiar with me right now.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I always say that like going into like if you just competed and going into another competition, of course you don't get the advantage of doing a pure 12-week prep going into it like some other guys. But I think you get some bonus points for kind of like recent competition, and like especially if you have a good contest
Yeah.
just like you did, like taking podium. I think sometimes you can kind of like juggernaut or kind of steamroll your way into that for the next competition and bring a lot of that momentum kind of through. I've seen that a lot happen
Yeah,
to even a
absolutely.
lot of guys. Even if it's I think a great example is even this year. Let's talk about like the open guys. I was competing with Pavlo Cordiaca. I beat him at Europe's. I don't think I have any business in beating Pavlo, but then he goes out and of course performs well at Worlds, of course winning in the stone off, and then I think he ended up taking ninth. But
Okay, yeah.
still making the finals for the second time. But like he needed to shake the rust off that
Yeah.
first competition. Then he was ready to go 3 weeks. It was about 3 weeks later. So I
Yeah.
think kind of similar thing. So I think you're gonna go in with a lot of momentum, but just don't get complacent. But who are some of the other guys that you're watching out for who are gonna be some contenders at the Shaw Open lightweight division?
Yeah, I mean, Alec, I think Alec's going to do really well. Alex Sukup.
Soak up, yeah.
Yeah, I think Brandon Burley's going to do really good. I know that Richie's doing it.
Muchigamba.
Muchigamba, yeah. And yeah, I think those three will be pretty good. I know I'm forgetting a couple people, but there was like a couple other names too. Like some under 90 guys were signed up for it originally. It doesn't look like they're doing it anymore. Like I know CJ Kraus was signed up. It doesn't look like he's coming though. And Derek Owens too, but I don't think he's doing it either. So yeah, I think like Alec, Burley, Richie. I think those would be some good people there. But it was, 50 guys, so it's going to be a big field. So there's a lot of points to be.
You said 5-0?
Yeah, 50 guys signed up.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's definitely going to come down to the reps. You don't want to tie in that big group, whatever that big group is, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I'm thinking, so let's see. So I haven't seen 285 for like a decent high level. So of course, with yourself, Alec, and Burley, and Muchigamba. So you said 275, right?
Yeah, 275 for reps. I think somebody will get 10.
10. Interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe if Alec is vipering on. No, he likes the viper too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like 8 or 9. I've seen the most in terms of like open. I think when we had 315 for reps at ASM years back, and I won with 6. It was also kind of a really tough log. It was the Bartos Bartos boss log, which was top heavy, which was pretty was pretty tough. And then Quirky Panda says 50. Holy shit, language. But yes, that's a lot of competitors for. Yeah. I think that's more than OSG, right?
Yeah, OSG we had 43. We have 50, so it's like it's only like one day of 50 guys, so it's only 3 events. So yeah, like tying is not good. Like there's a lot of points to be won. There's a lot of points to be lost also.
Interesting. That'll be pretty wild. But I think it's going to be a good contest. I know there's a little more qualification process when it comes to OSG. But the shot, I think what shot took the first 50 people that signed up. Was that the rule?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Now, have you ever met Big Brian Shaw?
No, I haven't. No. Hopefully I get to his giant paws.
I hope. Well, especially I think if you podium, I think you get that opportunity. So, of course, I wish you all the best. So, three days of competition, right?
Yeah, 3 days. So then, day 2 is a 185 Rogue Monster Bell for reps. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty tough dumbbell. And then power stairs. The stairs are 350, 400, 450, but it's 5 steps.
All right.
And then day 3 is Max Hummer Tire, and then Atlas Stones.
All right. Interesting. Of course, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. So, but did you say max deadlift?
Max Hummer Tire deadlift, yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be fun, especially if you guys are looking to kind of grind out some points, but especially on the Shaw equipment, that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. And then you'll be competing pretty much every day. The pros are competing, except the pros compete Saturday and Sunday, right?
Yeah. So the pros are Saturday and Sunday. I think they start at 4 p.m. and our schedule, it looks like we start at. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, but we start 9 a.m. and it looks like day 2, day 3, we're done by like 12. And then I think there's like some stuff going on in the middle because they got like the arm wrestling, they got the grip.
Sure.
And then the pros go on at 4.
Now, that'll be interesting. So will you check out the competition after day 3?
If I want to pay for it, yeah.
Oh, pay for it. All right, got it. So they have to repay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now looking into kind of going into Colorado. Now, of course, I know Shane and Dan Ashcroft are pretty smart guys. Did they say anything about competing in high altitude like that? Did they have any suggestions, or just go out there and give it hell?
Listen, I mean, my opinion on that is, there's 60-second events. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. I can't say for certain because I've never done it. So maybe if you have a better opinion of
I
it.
don't. I've never competed in Colorado before, and I'm trying to think what other areas would be high altitude that I've competed at, and I don't think I can really name one. Maybe I don't know how high the altitude is in San Antonio, but I don't think it was that high. I'm just trying to think of like landlocked Ohio. I've been a bunch of time. I don't think that was high altitude. I don't think there's anything that compares to Colorado that I've been to, even overseas. So I think that I'm in the same boat, so I wouldn't really know. If anybody that's listening that knows about high altitude and how it affects strongman, feel free to chime in. But
Johnny told me,
which
he's
Johnny?
like, Johnny Wojcicki.
Mhm.
He told me don't really worry about it. He said it's a 60-second event. You know, if you can't get through it, you're just not in shape, pretty much. You know, I kind of believe that. I mean, I do my cardio, you know, I train, I'm in shape. If I can't last 60 seconds, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, to me, it's not something that I can sit here and stress about because, like, first of all, you can't change it. It is what it is, and everybody else has to deal with it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I was just curious. It might not affect you. I would say overall, I don't know if like you look at just let's just say the only thing that's kind of I would say standard or just and it repeats itself has been the Shaw Classic or Strongest Man on Earth. Shaw has won two of them and then taken second in the other two. I don't know if potentially training in that environment and then competing in that environment is an advantage. But he's also close to home and he's using his own equipment. So it's really hard to kind of take away the variables and figure out what input and outputs really affect that his conscious results. But it also be interesting. But maybe you can fill us in after the fact.
Yeah, definitely.
So Quirky Panda says it does affect if you're out of shape. So yeah, don't be out of shape. But Johnny does his cardio, unlike myself. So. So Johnny, there was some good Instagram questions recently. So looking at, of course, one of the questions was what was your athletic background and how long you were competing? So we kind of answered that. But when did you start the powerlifting journey? Or your strength journey?
2021. No, I'm sorry, 2020, COVID. I mean, kind of just like my backstory getting into strength sports was initially I really like just started working out kind of like a little bit right before COVID. I stopped playing basketball like in 2019. And then I kind of let myself get out of shape a little bit. I was like just pretty unhealthy, just, you know, living like the college lifestyle, going out, partying, stuff like that. And I kind of let myself go. And I really wanted to get into shape because I was going on spring break. And so I started going to the gym, lifting a little bit, and I really wasn't like too familiar with like working out or anything. Pretty much like the third or fourth time, like back in the gym, I happened to bench press 315, and I was like, oh, you know, it's kind of cool. Didn't really know like what that meant or anything. One thing led to another. The pandemic hit. I had a friend that owned a gym. He let me take a bunch of his weights. I put them in my garage, and pretty much like during the whole lockdown, I was just like in my garage, just working out, squatting, benching, deadlifting. And then I said to myself, like, you know, I'd like to kind of continue with this. Got friendly with like a local strength coach around here, started training at his gym, and he kind of helped me get into like powerlifting and everything. And yeah, did my first meet in 2020 in November. And that was it. That was kind of how I started.
The rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history. Yeah.
Pretty cool. But I forget who asked that question, but if they, well, I imagine they probably, this will all be, of course, we're live, but also I'll post the recorded version. But Johnny also had a basketball and karate background.
Yeah.
So Dane came back. So Dane was saying altitude perhaps might affect recovery of the event more. So it just might take a few breaths after. Yeah, I could see that. Afterwards, you might be huffing and puffing.
You know those cans of like oxygen.
Are you bringing some?
Yeah, I'll bring some of those.
Yeah, those are. I've tried like taking those oxygen tanks before, like a big
Yeah.
lift, see if it did anything, but it made me feel good.
Yeah.
I'll say that. One individual asked, "Does Johnny think he will ever grow out of the 105 kilo class and become an open competitor?"
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've thought about for sure. Just because naturally I feel like I walk around pretty big, and to be honest with you, I do kind of have to. I can't really eat all out because I know I'll gain too much weight. So I think like naturally I could probably gain a little bit more weight. I don't necessarily know like how good I'll physically feel being 30, 40 pounds heavier if that were the case.
Right.
So it's something that I have to think about a little bit more, but it is something that
Is this the heaviest you ever been right now?
in shape. Yeah. I mean, like I said, when I was kind of let myself go, I was like 280 pounds, but it was
You
not
say
like,
80?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, all right. So yeah,
But
that's
it wasn't like a pretty 280 by any means. I wasn't working out or anything. Yeah, like this is the biggest I've been now, like in shape for sure. Um, but yeah, it is something that I would like to do. I think if I did, I would approach it like similar to how you did, where you kind of like took some time in between to get used to the weight a little bit.
mhm.
So I'd maybe give myself a year and say like I'm 250 right now. The goal is to get to 280 by the end of the year. Do it slow so I'm comfortable. I feel good. I'm healthy. That's kind of like the way I'd approach it.
Sure. But yeah, I think I think probably only a matter of time. Of course, you had the height for it. I think especially being kind of 6'2", 6'2" to 6'3" is the most common height for World's Strongest Man winners.
There
So
you go. Okay.
interesting fact. And then I don't think you're alone. I think Alec Sokup, if he's listening, I think it's only a matter of time before
Yeah, I
he
think so too.
becomes a heavyweight and,
Yeah.
and joins his brother.
Let me ask you, how do you
Ooh,
feel?
you're asking me. This is my podcast. I ask the questions, but go ahead.
No, how do you feel gaining the weight? You feeling different?
Sure. I was walking the dog today. Now that it's of course kind of 12-week post bicep recovery, getting
Yeah.
back to normal. I feel like it's pretty natural, but it probably took maybe a little bit more than a year
Yeah.
to kind of feel like this way.
Yeah.
But I've been hovering anywhere between 285 and 295 for over a year now.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
but I would say probably my best 290 was prior to Europe's and
Mhm.
going to Worlds.
Mhm.
But yeah, thank you for asking a question. It makes me feel special, Johnny. Garrett Payne wants to know, how does Italian food play into how does Italian food play a role in your success?
Unfortunately, not too much because I don't eat a whole lot of Italian food.
This live is over. Thank you for
I can't. Like I said, I mean, I'll get too
yeah.
big. My diet is pretty standard. It's pretty like bodybuilder esque. When I go to work in the morning, I bring 3 Tupperware containers of me with chicken and rice and beef and potatoes and eggs and rice. You know what I'm saying? It's really like my diet for the most part. Like if something comes up and my family's going out to eat and I'm not, 4 weeks out from a show, I'll go out to eat, enjoy myself. That's fine. But it's really, I'm not sitting here eating pasta all day long. I can't do it.
All right. Well, I think that's good. I was probably in a similar boat.
Yeah.
It changed when I went heavyweight. I could
Yeah.
indulge, but you get to a certain point where if you want to stay 105 kilo, you got to eat the certain things. And of course, if you're a bigger frame than most. I was a bigger frame than most, and you're of course slightly bigger. So
Yeah.
that's the game. So one question I like to do with all the podcast guests, we're always pretty positive, but like in the gym world, in the strongman world, in the internet strongman world, is there anything that grinds your gears? Is there anything that just gets you a little heated when you see it in the world of strongman? Like in the past, I've said when pros post like giant essays on the lift they did, but they didn't post the weight that they did, and then I have
Yeah.
to try to figure out what they did. In the past, tripod cameras, I always say just have a buddy take a video for you. But is there anything that grinds your gears in the world of lifting?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
general?
I'll go more general, like world of lifting. I think like when like people are so fixated on like having like the perfect like equipment, like they need like the power bar, the calibrated plates, like, they just like, things of that nature in order to like lift. Like, to me, that's kind of like annoying a little bit, especially like, not for nothing, and not to offend anybody. Like, if you're like deadlifting like 400 pounds and like every week you're on like an Alico bar with kilo plates and everything, it's just like, you know what I'm saying?
So you're not too hell bent on the scientific approach. You right. You kind of just go in there and train, and doesn't matter where you're on. You'll get
No,
stronger.
I like both of them. I think like there's a lot that you can take away from the science aspect of lifting and everything like that, and there's a lot of like those own principles that I think about and utilize in my training. But I also think like to some degree, like people sometimes just need like that like feral, like just go in there and like mess stuff up lifting, like just kind of like get some ammonia, like rip some weight. Like I think you need like a little bit of both to be really good. You know what I'm saying?
But you also want to harp on that you don't always need perfect equipment in order to be strong.
Yeah,
you can do it
because like look at what Strongman is. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest, like unless you're going to like ASM and like it's a Slater log, you have no idea what log they're using. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you just like you can't get too comfortable on one thing. Like you don't know like if when you go to the deadlift event, if it's going to be bumper plates, if it's going to be calibrated plates, like. And you know what? To be fair, like it does make a difference. Like if you're using like a Kabuki deadlift bar and bumper plates, like it feels a whole lot different than a stiff bar with kilo plates. You know what I'm saying? So I think just like being adaptable and being like really strong, like on anything helps a lot. Or at the very least, like making like your training like harder than like the actual show will be. But just I see like a lot of like kids on Instagram that are like a little bit younger, and they just like they fixate too much like on the small things like that, like, oh, I got to make sure I have my Texas power bar or whatever. And it's just like, just go in and lift, you know what I'm saying? Just go lift, get strong. And then, you can figure all that stuff out.
Sure. Absolutely. Of course. But that's a great answer. And of course, for any of the young kids that are listening, what do you have planned for after the Shot Classic and for like the rest of the year?
Yeah. So for me, I'll probably take like a light September, to be honest with you. Just kind of like let the body recover, enjoy some pasta and stuff like that again. And then kind of like slowly start ramping back up like in October for OSG in December. And I think like kind of somewhere maybe like early October, maybe even like mid-October, kind of get like super intense again going into like, November, obviously being like the heaviest month of training, OSG December.
You looking forward to your second OSG?
I am. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I think it's going to be a really good year, just in terms of like the show itself, meaning like I think like the quality production. I think they're going to I like the way that they're like kind of making us do the events. So instead of like having all the classes go for one event and then start cycling back, it's like 2 classes are going back-to-back events and then they're done for the day. So I'm looking forward to that. I think like the arena is going to be really nice. I think there's going to be a lot of people there, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I do like the format. I think people have proposed that in the past, and I'm glad that they're listening and finally implemented it. So, but like the old OSG style, when you're there for 10 hours doing 2 events, there was like a battle of the fittest. Is like who can mentally be composed to stay ready in between those events and do what you need to do, as well as enjoying the competition. So it'll be interesting. So I've had I mixed it up recently, last 2 podcasts when it comes to like a version of Marry Fuck Kill, and I call it Start Bench Cut, which is a little better, but very similar kind of premises. I did the heavyweights for the heavyweights, but if you had Andrew Clayton, Jeff Lee, and Zach McCarley, who would you start? Who would you bench? And who would you cut?
Start bench cut. Well, that's a tough one, man.
You can't cut Jeff because he literally was helping you the other day do stones.
So I guess we'll all right. Listen, obviously nothing personal. I'll I'll start Andrew because I'm friends with Andrew. I've known Andrew longer. We'll bench Jeff and we'll cut Zach only because I just met Zach like 2 weeks ago. It was the first time I ever met him.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff did beat Zach last year. I think it would have been a good battle if it came this year, but I'm not sure if you watched the prediction video.
Jeff is going into the heavyweights.
Yes, you guys heard it here.
Yeah.
Jeff is a big boy. I'm trying to spread the word. So for you, Johnny, when everything is said and done, what are you looking to accomplish in the world of strongman?
To be honest, like, I just want to pretty much just put my best foot forward, whatever that looks like. Obviously win world titles, hit world records and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, like, I'm just really enjoying this journey. I'm having like a blast doing it, like a lot of people around me, like, that I go to work with or like friends and stuff like that. They always say to me, like, you have such crazy discipline and everything. And to me, like, I never really look at it that way because I'm just doing like the things that I enjoy doing. So I really am just here like for the ride, for the journey. And whatever that result looks like, I know it'll be a positive thing. I want to grow my coaching business and make a career out of that as well. So, just really wherever the road takes, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, obviously win worlds and hit world records and all that. But, I think sometimes, like, if you get too caught up in that, you kind of stop having fun in a sense. So I'm just having fun right now and I'm enjoying where I am.
All right. Perfect. Love it. So we are kind of course, finish up. So if you guys that are tuning in right now, the dozen that are around, if you have any questions for Johnny, please throw them over there. But how's your coaching business going?
Yeah, the coaching business is going great. I have like a little group right now of guys, and they're really loving it. They're really, what's really neat is that I've created like a little bit of a community too with like my clients. So like we're all in a group chat, and I've essentially made people friends. So that's like a really cool feeling for me that I've brought people together. So I'm really happy that I'm able to do that. I'm really happy that I'm also able to help people along their journey, whether it's getting strong or losing weight or just feeling better about themselves. So it's a real positive thing. I really enjoy doing it. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And I hope one day, I could be in the shoes of somebody like Shane, like, all these, a lot of the guys overseas have big coaching businesses, Josh Lancaster, Tom Hibbert, Matt McKeegan. He's got a, good coaching business. So hopefully like in a couple of years time, I could be on that level. But like I said, I'm just being patient. I'm enjoying the journey and I'm excited to see where it can go.
Oh, excellent. What's the best way for people to find your coaching or to reach out to you via coaching?
Instagram, just DM me, tell me you're interested. On most of my posts, I'll give you like a keyword to DM me if you are interested in my coaching services. So if you happen to come across one of my posts, just DM me one of those words. If not, if you're watching this and you are interested, just send me a DM and we'll book a phone consultation and we'll get you going.
Sure. Are you on YouTube?
Yeah, I do. TikTok, I have a YouTube channel. Yeah. TikTok, not really so much. Eventually I'll get there. But right now Instagram is really like the best way to reach me, the best way to contact me. I do have the YouTube channel. There's a couple things up there. I do want to get that going a little bit. I have a good friend of mine. He's kind of like my video guy. We got to get back together and start making some more content again. But we filmed a documentary last year about like the whole OSG experience. So
interesting.
That's coming out like pretty soon. That'll be on my YouTube in about 2 or 3 months time from now.
I think you should probably around OSG time. That'll probably be a good segue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Around OSG time will come out.
Oh, but that's interesting. That'll be good to watch. But yeah, it's tough to find good video guys these days. But
he's the man. He's like one of my best friends. So it's a good relationship.
Absolutely. But interesting says pasta every day. Love, mom. Yes. Yes, we agree.
Every day.
And then Quirky Panda, how bad are you going to beat Blake? I'm not sure who Blake is.
Yeah, so Blake is one of my clients. He's doing the Shaw Classic.
Oh, cool.
And Quirky Panda is my client Sean. So he's just kind of like talking a little smack right now. I hope Blake beats me, because then I'll know I'm a good coach.
Yeah, well, that'll be a great way. So, for the recording version of this podcast, I'll have all the links below, so you guys can find Johnny Alimo. I've been doing it right, even though I started the show off wrong. I realized that after the intro.
It's okay.
But of course, I'll have the links. So make sure you guys follow Johnny, and then don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, notification bell on this YouTube channel, so you guys know when all the podcasts are run out. I'm gonna keep running, I would say, this live format. What do you think about the live format, Johnny?
I liked it. It's cool. You get some fan interaction, and I like it.
Thank you for being my guinea pig. And
Yeah.
Thursday, I have CJ Kraus coming on.
Okay, cool.
So he was the recent winner of the
Yeah,
Chaos
Chaos.
Classic. So
Yeah.
it would be good to kind of get him back on. He's returning back.
Cool.
And then I'm going to try to do this kind of live style. So it's all pretty interesting. But Johnny, thank you so much for coming in today. And then let's leave the listeners with one word of wisdom. So what word of wisdom do you want to leave the listeners for today's podcast?
Just work hard, stay true to yourself. And I truly believe that, good things can happen to everybody, but you really got to listen to like what's inside, and you can make anything happen if you're willing to work hard enough for it.
Awesome. Well, stay strong, everybody.
Thank you.